Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, Chicken Nugget Milker, and today it's story time. Now I make this seem like I've done loads, but I will in fact make quite a few of these story time videos. I've got plenty to share. So today's story time is called The Pond. For those that know me personally, you know me and this pond have a lovely relationship. And let me tell you, it's certainly something that stuck with me till this day. So this story takes place in 2011. I was in year 8 and it was just me, the pond, and my best mate Danny. Now, you gotta get used to this name, Danny, because he will come in a lot of these stories. My best mate since nursery, he's been there for 16 plus years, but he's useless. And this story will explain how my life was almost in his hands. Anyway. So there I am, and so is Danny. It's we're year 8, but a mere year 8. Think of it now. That's a long time ago. Actually, it's nearly a decade ago. I feel so old. Anyway, so we just finished from a super hard day at school. Of course, you know, I only worked the hardest, and we had where we lived. There is a community centre just near us, and just behind that is a little wood with a small pond there. Nowadays it's just filled with like rubbish and tip and all this kind of. It's like a dump now. But back then it was this big pond that had quite a lot of life in it. There was fish, there was ducks, there was all sorts of stuff in there. And it must have been about February time. It was stupidly cold, and we were walking back home from school. And we'd gone to the pond, and I'd noticed that there was thick layer of ice spread out across this whole pond. And when I say thick, I'm not talking like this. I'm talking this was almost a brick worth of ice. And trust me, I can remember this very well. Anyway, so me being delusional, and able to speak English back then, I decided it would be a really good idea to just investigate the pond, you know, as sane children do. And I go over to the pond and I'm like, give Danny the glance. I'm like, yeah, no, you think what I'm thinking? Because I am. Go up to the pond. I thought, yeah, this will hold me. So I hop onto it. Not a care in the world. But I certainly won't be doing it anytime soon. So I jump onto this thick layer of ice across this pond, and for visual reference, this pond was exceptionally deep. People would throw like buggies and stuff in there, and you wouldn't even see it. It would still be half the way down. So it was a good 6-7 foot deep, this pond, and it was fairly long. It wasn't like just like this little tiny thing. This was a big old pond, and so I'm on it, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is fine. You know, I was hopping, I was skipping, I was running across this thing like as if the ice wasn't going to break beneath my feet. So little side story. Danny, he can't swim. Even to this day, 21 years old, and he can't swim. I just don't get it. Just kick your feet and your arms around, you know, it's not hard. But he couldn't swim then, and he still can't swim now. Little did I know that this was going to play a huge part in a life or death situation, where he couldn't help me at all. So he's standing there on the edge of the bank, and I'm running around on this ice, and I'm like, yo, Danny, come over here. You've got to do this. It's so fun. Don't worry, the ice won't break, he says. Just jump on over. And we can run around the ice. I don't know why. It's just fun, isn't it? That high risk, high reward. You know, I've got it under my belt. I've run across an icy pond. Not that that's a lot to be proud of after telling this story, but each to their own. And so Danny eventually jumps on, and as I said, the ice was so thick, I didn't even consider that the pond would just collapse through. So he's eventually on here. We're running about, and you know, it was. We weren't heavy and we weren't tall. Back then, I must have been barely 5 foot tall. Like, we were both fairly short, and we're running across it, and it's absolutely fine. Danny decided, yo, it's time that I GTFO, because your boy can't swim, and if I fall in, nah. Little did I know that fat bugger would cause the crack in the ice, like an uglier version of the squirrel from Ice Age. And he had jumped off onto the bank, and it's almost as if I can see it in slow motion still. I could just see the ice breaking towards me, and I thought, oh, you know what I should start doing? I should probably start running towards the bank. Oh yeah, because a heavy force on the breaking ice all in one go is a fantastic idea. I start running, and before I knew it, I get sunk into the ground. The ice broke beneath my feet, and I could just see Danny at head level looking at me. And as I fall, I'm just seeing everything shrink. And I fall down, and I can still remember holding onto the ice, and my legs just dangling in this icy cold water. Like it was frozen, so the water beneath me was -degree, and I'm sitting there like, oh my god. And because it's all cracked around me and in front of me, there shouldn't have been a chance of me even crawling out of that. Because if you don't know, when you go from one temperature to another, especially in an icy pond, most of the time when you submerge in that from a hole in an ice, when you go into that and you get everything's go super cold, your brain becomes a bit confused, and there's the chance of you actually going into the hole and coming back out the same hole is almost impossible. And as I said, the ice was so thick there was no way I could have cracked that, especially with how small I was and the force of a fist up to the water. There was no way in hell that I was going to get out of there. But thank my lucky stars, I had balanced myself on these 2 bits of ice, pulled myself out, and I don't even know how. And I'm just watching Danny just stare. Cheers, mate. You didn't want to give me a hand to jump over then. So I pull myself out and I jump across. And you know, still to this day, it baffles me why I thought it was a brilliant idea. But clearly, I like the risk. Anyway, so now I've been talking about this icy pond. You know, my near-death experience. When you say it out loud, you know, you think, oh, near-death experience. You know, getting hit by a car and going to hospital. This was a near-death experience. Probably not on the same scale as some, but say, for example, I actually fell all the way through. If I hadn't drowned, if I hadn't not frozen to death, but literally gone under, panicked, maybe fainted, hypothermia, something like that, I still probably wouldn't have found the hole back up. Or 3, if I actually fell in and was drowning, if I had someone that could swim, they might have been able to help me. Oh, but oh no, the universe gave me Danny. Oh, fantastic. Why? Why? Because if I did fall in and I needed help, someone to retrieve me from the water, he would have just stood there at the bank and would have just gone, oh, actually no, he wouldn't have even phoned up because we don't do phone calls. So he probably would have just looked at his phone, looked at me, looked at his phone, looked at me and gone, I guess that's natural selection. I guarantee he would have walked home and would have not even thought about what happened. So my little carcass just freezes like a little chicken Kiev in a fridge, in a freezer. It would just be my body just laying under the ice. See, there was many parts of that story that I thought, wow, actually, if that went wrong, if this went wrong, if that went wrong, I got very lucky because I'm not the best swimmer in the world, especially in icy cold water. Not to mention, we were wearing blazers. So the second my body hit that water, it soaked up everything, and it was already heavy enough as it is. And I would have just sunk straight to the bottom. But for clarification, when I say Danny can't swim, I'm not talking about he can swim about 20 metres. I'm not talking, oh, he can't swim, but he can swim the channel. No, I mean, he got a 5-metre Puffin award in... No... in primary school. Now, for those that don't know what a Puffin award is, clearly you are not, you know, you did not have the elite education that we did. Sarcasm aside, a Puffin award was an award, more of a scam, that children were able to buy when they were younger. So you'd be in, say, like year 5, and probably even younger, and you'd have your swimming pool, and you'd had to swim past certain cones across the whole of the swimming pool. Like 5, 10, 20, 40, 60 metres around here. I was able to get all my Puffin awards, but I can vividly remember watching Danny do his little test, and bless his little heart, he looked like a very naked flamingo. You could see him dip into the water, already panicking about drowning. And to get his 5 metre award, he didn't swim it, right? Now 5 metres for clarification is probably like 3 of me. So it's really not hard to swim like a room length. But what he did, and it was beautiful. He would touch the bottom of the water and just bounce off the floor of the swimming pool, and bounced 5 metres. So no, he didn't swim. He bounced 5 metres. And even worse, I can still remember his mum paying for that award. So when you achieved a certain, like a 20 metre, your parents were like, sent this certificate. It was like, look, you can pay for this award. They've done really well. They swum a whole 20 metres. Or in Danny's case, he's hopped 5 metres underwater. And then your parents or guardian would then pay, and you would get this little woven badge, probably about this big, that probably cost you about £5. So not only did he waste my time with watching him, swim. Obviously that was the world not liking me, abusing the poor boy for hopping 5 metres. But yeah, his mum paid £5 for an award that I hope he still has till this day, because that's impressive. I don't have a 5 metre award for hopping underwater. But yeah, that is the story of how I nearly died and how my best friend would have watched. And as I said, there's plenty more stories to come. I thought this one would be a bit shorter than the last, but I will try and do one at least once a week. Mainly so it's like a category of all the stories I've gone through. Because let me tell you, you've got people like Michael Norris coming up, people like Callum Stephen. Oh, there's some gorgeous names coming up into these stories, and even some that you might see on this channel at some point in time. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed, minus the poster falling down. I will be back another day, so I will see you guys in a bit.